What if the people hurting you the most are not your enemies? But the people who hug you, call you family, say they love you, and still quietly make your life heavier every time you leave the room? That is the part nobody prepares you for. Nobody warns you that some of the deepest damage in life does not come from open hatred. It comes from familiar voices. Familiar faces. Familiar people who know exactly how to make their disrespect look normal. People who never have to attack you directly, because they have learned something more effective: they can keep you small while pretending they care. And that is what makes it dangerous. Because when cruelty comes dressed as concern, when envy sounds like honesty, when control hides behind loyalty, you do not defend yourself fast enough. You start explaining their behavior. You start minimizing what you feel. You start telling yourself, they don't mean it like that. And slowly, almost invisibly, your peace begins to disappear. In this video, we are going to talk about 7 signs that it may be time to end contact with someone forever, even if that person is a friend, even if that person is family, even if walking away fills you with guilt. And stay with me until the end, because the last sign is one of the most dangerous of all. It does not look dramatic. It does not look violent. In fact, it often looks like fun, love, or just how things are. But it can destroy your future in ways you do not notice until years have passed. This is not about becoming cold. This is not about cutting people off over one mistake. And this is not about turning every conflict into a reason to leave. This is about recognizing when a relationship has stopped being a place of mutual respect, and has become a system of emotional erosion. The Stoics understood something most people still resist: peace is expensive. It costs you illusions. It costs you access. Sometimes, it costs you people you never thought you would have to lose. So let's get honest. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is close the door no one else had the courage to close. 1. They constantly undermine you. You know what this looks like. You share something you are proud of. Not because you are bragging. Not because you need applause. Just because, for once, something in your life is moving in the right direction and you want to let someone close to you into that moment. Maybe you got the promotion. Maybe you finally lost the weight. Maybe you started a business, finished a course, stuck to a new routine, paid off some debt, or simply had a good week after months of feeling like you were drowning. And instead of warmth, you get that look. That tiny shift in their face. That half smile. That pause that tells you the hit is coming. Then they say something like, "Well, isn't that what you were supposed to do? Let's see how long that lasts. Don't get too excited. Must be nice." And maybe the words are small. Maybe, if you repeated them to someone else, they would not sound brutal enough to justify the ache they left behind. But that is how this kind of person works. They live in the gray area. They know how to injure you without leaving evidence anyone else would respect. I remember sharing a personal project with someone I had known for years. It mattered to me more than I let on. I had spent late nights planning it, thinking through it, rebuilding my confidence enough to even begin. I was nervous when I talked about it, but underneath the nerves there was hope. Real hope. They listened for a second, leaned back, and said, "You always start things like this. You never finish." That sentence stayed with me far longer than I wanted to admit. Not because it was clever. Not because it was true. But because it came from someone whose support I thought I had earned. That is the hidden wound. It is not only the criticism. It is the betrayal of expectation. You thought you were sharing a win with someone in your corner. Instead, you were reminded they had been keeping score against you the entire time. At first, you tell yourself they are just blunt. Or maybe they are trying to keep you grounded. Maybe this is just their personality. Maybe this is love in a rougher form. But then it happens again. And again. And again. Every success gets trimmed down, doubted, redirected, or poisoned. You got promoted? Probably politics. You look better, but don't get comfortable. That's a nice idea, but people like you usually don't pull those things off. Over time, something subtle begins to happen. You stop bringing your joy to them. Then you stop feeling as much joy at all. You begin editing yourself before you speak. You start withholding good news. You protect your own happiness from people who were supposed to make happiness safer. That changes a person. The Stoics taught that your peace depends not just on what happens to you, but on what you allow to enter your inner world. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he had power over his own mind, not over outside events. But here is the darker truth modern life forces us to face: some people make themselves an outside event that keeps entering your mind because you keep leaving the door open. And many of them are not doing this by accident. Some people undermine you because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your discipline bothers them. Your healing irritates them. Your ambition unsettles them. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your movement forces them to confront their own stillness. There is a Machiavellian edge to this kind of behavior. In a false world, people do not always want to beat you openly. Open attacks are risky. They would rather weaken your confidence quietly and let you disqualify yourself. They would rather make you smaller than admit they feel small around you. That is why this matters. Because if you keep people like this close, eventually their voice starts sounding like your own. You no longer need them in the room to feel diminished. You carry them inside you. And once that happens, the damage becomes self-sustaining. So ask yourself something honestly. When good things happen in your life, who makes you feel safer, lighter, clearer? And who makes you instantly want to downplay your own joy? That answer tells you more about your relationships than loyalty ever will. Real love does not resent your momentum. Real friends do not punish your growth. Real family does not require you to stay insecure so they can stay comfortable. If someone repeatedly makes you feel foolish for rising, then walking away is not arrogance. It is self-respect. It is how you stop confusing emotional sabotage with closeness. And once the constant undermining is gone, you may be surprised how quickly your own mind begins to breathe again. 2. They mock your goals. There is something especially cruel about being laughed at by someone you trusted with your dream. Not criticized thoughtfully. Not challenged in a way that sharpens you. Mocked. You finally say out loud the thing you have been carrying privately for months, maybe years. You tell someone you want more for your life. More peace. More discipline. More income. More health. More dignity. Maybe you want to leave a job that is hollowing you out. Maybe you want to build something. Maybe you want to reinvent yourself at an age when other people expect you to settle. And instead of support, they smirk. Or they joke. Or they give you that tone people use when they want to make your vision sound childish without having to call you childish. Really? You? That's cute. Let me know how that goes. Sounds like a phase. People do not always realize how much damage one moment like that can do. Because when you first pursue something meaningful, you are fragile in a very specific way. You do not need blind praise. But you do need space. You need emotional oxygen. You need enough room for the thing to become real before the world starts trying to drag it back into the dirt. I remember telling someone about a project I wanted to pursue. I was already fighting fear before I spoke. I was already dealing with the voice that says, maybe I'm too late. Maybe I'm not the kind of person who gets to do this. I did not need someone to guarantee success. I just needed them not to spit on the spark before it could catch. Instead, I got a sarcastic laugh and a line I still remember. Good luck. Tell me when you give up. I smiled in the moment because that is what people do when they do not want to look hurt. But later, when I sat down to work, those words were waiting for me. That is how mockery works. It follows you home. It turns into hesitation. It wraps itself around your next action and asks, what if they're right? This is why you have to take it seriously. People who mock your goals are rarely protecting you from failure. Most of the time, they are protecting themselves from comparison. Your courage disturbs people who chose comfort. Your attempt disturbs people who surrendered. Your willingness to start disturbs people who turned their fear into an identity. If you achieve the thing they laughed at, your success does more than elevate you, it silently exposes the excuses they built their life around. And some people would rather see you remain ordinary than risk feeling inadequate in your presence. That is not friendship. That is insecurity with a front row seat. Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. There is tremendous strength in that. Not because it sounds inspirational, but because it makes one thing brutally clear: once you know what matters to you, every voice pulling you away from it becomes a test. Not all criticism is evil. Some criticism is useful. Some saves you time. Some sharpens your thinking. But mockery is different. Mockery does not guide. It humiliates. It does not improve the dream. It tries to make you ashamed of having won. And shame is one of the easiest ways to stop a person from becoming who they could be. So let me say this carefully, because many people need to hear it. If someone consistently makes your aspirations feel embarrassing, they are not a safe place for your future. You do not need everyone to understand your path. You do not need everyone to believe in your vision. But you do need to recognize who becomes smaller-minded every time you speak about becoming more. And the hard part is this: sometimes the people mocking your goals are the same people who claim they just want what's best for you. That is the social theater of it all. Society rewards this kind of cowardice. It dresses fear up as realism. It calls shrinking maturity. It calls surrender being practical. It calls your ambition too much because your ambition is offensive to people who buried their own. Do not let that get inside you. You will regret many things in life. But one of the deepest regrets is not failure. It is obedience to small minds. Years later, the people who laughed will not feel your regret for you. They will not carry the weight of what you never tried. They will not live with the ache of the unlived life. That part will belong to you alone. So protect your goals early. Protect them fiercely. Speak about them with discernment. Build them in private if you must. Let them grow roots before you expose them to people who feed on disbelief. Real support does not always look loud. Sometimes it is as simple as someone saying, "I can see this matters to you. Keep going." Stay close to those people. And when someone keeps turning your dreams into a joke, believe what they are showing you. They are not laughing at the idea. They are trying to make sure you become the kind of person who never follows through. Do not give them that victory. 3. They're inconsistent. There is a kind of pain that does not come from direct rejection. It comes from unpredictability. From never quite knowing where you stand. One week they are warm, present, available, full of promises. They call. They text. They say they are here for you. They talk like you matter deeply to them. Then suddenly, without explanation, they disappear. No follow-through. No consistency. No emotional steadiness. Just silence. And then, as if nothing happened, they return. Casual. Light. Almost charming. They act like the emotional whiplash they caused should not count because technically they came back. A lot of people stay stuck in this cycle because inconsistency is confusing in a very addictive way. It keeps you reaching. It keeps you analyzing. It keeps you asking the wrong question: what did I do wrong? That question is a trap. I knew someone like this for years. When life was easy, they were everywhere. They wanted closeness. They wanted to be included. They wanted the language of loyalty, the identity of being real, the image of being dependable. But the moment things became inconvenient, the moment support required effort, or maturity, or any real cost, they vanished. Then, later, they would drift back in with some relaxed message, some half-joke, some attempt to skip past the distance they created. And for a long time, I helped them do it. I told myself they were busy. I told myself they were stressed. I told myself adult life is complicated. I told myself not everyone knows how to communicate. All of that may be true. But at some point, the pattern speaks more clearly than the excuse. Here is the part most people do not want to say out loud: inconsistency is not just annoying. It is destabilizing. And in many relationships, it becomes a quiet form of control. Because the person who keeps showing up and disappearing holds the emotional center of gravity. You begin adapting to their rhythm, their availability, their mood, their convenience. You wait for contact. You brace for distance. You become emotionally trained to accept uncertainty as if it were closeness. That is not closeness. That is intermittent reinforcement. And it keeps more people trapped than they realize. The Stoics valued steadiness for a reason. Stability is not glamorous, but it is the foundation of trust. A person does not prove loyalty by making emotional speeches. They prove it by being there in a way that does not force you to question your worth every other week. And yes, this includes family. Shared blood does not automatically create emotional integrity. Some relatives treat access to you like a revolving privilege. They want the title of family without the responsibility of showing up like one. They appear when it benefits them, disappear when it does not, then expect unconditional understanding because of the label. But labels do not heal nervous systems. Behavior does. So ask yourself: do they bring steadiness into my life? Or do they keep me in a state of emotional guesswork? Because that guesswork is expensive. It drains energy you should be using to build your life. It makes you doubt your instincts. It teaches you to over-explain, over-forgive, and underserve yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." That cuts through a lot of confusion. A good person does not leave you perpetually unsure where you stand for the sake of their comfort. A good person may fail, may struggle, may need space, but they do not repeatedly train you to feel disposable. And there is another uncomfortable truth here: every time you accept chronic inconsistency without consequence, you teach the other person that your standards are flexible, your memory is short, and your self-respect can be negotiated. People do what works. If vanishing and returning still gets them access to your time, your care, your forgiveness, your energy, why would they stop? You are not required to become harsh. You are not required to become bitter. But you are required, if you want peace, to stop mistaking instability for depth. Someone who truly values you should not feel like an emotional weather system. You should not need perfect conditions to know they are there. And if somebody keeps treating your presence like something they can pick up and put down whenever it suits them, then walking away is not punishment. It is clarity. It is the refusal to remain available to people who only know how to love in fragments. For they only call when they need something. You already know this pattern by the way your body reacts before you even answer. Their name lights up your phone, and instead of feeling warmth, you feel tension. Because deep down, you already know this is not a call to connect. It is a call to collect. People like this have a predictable rhythm. They disappear for long stretches. No checking in. No curiosity about your life. No real reciprocity. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, they reappear with just enough friendliness to soften your guard. "Hey, how have you been? It's been too long. I was just thinking about you." And then, within minutes, the truth arrives. They need money. A ride. A reference. Advice. A contact. A favor. Your time. Your emotional labor. Your stability. I have known people whose affection only activated when they were in trouble. The call would always come with urgency. Something happened. Something went wrong. They needed help fast. And because I wanted to be decent, because many of us were raised to equate usefulness with goodness, I responded. Again and again. And at first, helping felt noble. It felt compassionate. It felt like what mature adults do for people they care about. But eventually, patterns reveal what isolated incidents hide. When I needed support, they were unavailable. When I was exhausted, they were silent. When I was dealing with my own problems, my messages sat unanswered. There was always a reason. Always an explanation. Always some convenient fog around why their needs required immediate response, but mine somehow never reached the same level of importance. That realization is painful in a specific way. Not because they asked for help. People need help. That is part of life. The pain comes from realizing they do not actually see you as a person to cherish. They see you as a resource to access. And there is a difference. One of the ugliest truths about social life is that some people become very skilled at locating good-hearted individuals and building one-sided arrangements around them. They call it closeness. They call it family. They call it being there for each other. But the flow of care only moves one way. You give. They take. You excuse. They repeat. You drain. They recover. This is how resentment is born. Seneca warned about the company we keep because time and energy are not neutral things. They shape character. If you spend your life being used by people who only honor your existence when they need something from it, you slowly become disconnected from your own value outside of service. That is especially dangerous for people who are dependable. Because dependable people often confuse being needed with being loved. They are not the same. Being needed can feel flattering. It can make you feel important. But a person can depend on your usefulness while remaining completely indifferent to your humanity. So be honest. Do they ever show up with no agenda? Do they call just to hear your voice? Do they ask how you are and actually stay long enough to hear the answer? Do they ever support you with the same urgency they expect from you? If the answer is consistently no, then what you have is not mutual care. It is access. And in today's world, access is one of the most abused currencies there is. People want access to your peace, your competence, your steadiness, your generosity, your emotional maturity, but not everyone deserves it. Machiavelli understood power in relationships better than most people are comfortable admitting. Some people do not value goodness. They leverage it. They study your generosity, your guilt, your hesitation to say no, and then they build a pattern around the fact that you are easier to use than to respect. That sounds harsh, but many people need that sentence. Because once you see it, your guilt starts to loosen. I remember a moment that changed something in me. Someone called again, full of strain, full of urgency, full of need. And before they got to the request, I already knew what was coming. I could feel the script. I could hear the familiar emotional setup. So instead of performing my usual role, I paused and said, "Let me guess, you need something." The silence was louder than anything they could have said. That silence told the truth. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are recognition. Recognition that your life is not a public utility. Recognition that compassion without limits becomes self-betrayal. Recognition that if someone only values what you can do for them, then distance is not selfish. It is overdue. You do not have to hate these people. You do not have to expose them dramatically. You simply have to stop offering premium access to people who keep proving they only remember you when their world is on fire. You deserve relationships that do not begin with a request. 5. They hold grudges. Some people do not want resolution. They want leverage. That is the truth behind a lot of grudges. On the surface, it may look like they are just hurt. And sometimes they are. But over time, you begin to notice that the pain is no longer the point. The point is that they never let the debt expire. They keep old mistakes alive. They reintroduce past failures into present conversations. They drag history into every disagreement until you no longer feel like a human being who made mistakes, you feel like a permanent case file. I knew someone who could recall every moment I disappointed them with almost theatrical precision. Missed a call once. It became part of the record. Couldn't make an event because life got chaotic. That too. It did not matter how much I showed up, how often I tried, how much I gave. The relationship always circled back to my previous failures as if the only thing more important than being close was making sure I stayed guilty. And that is exhausting. Because you can apologize. You can explain. You can try to repair. But if someone is emotionally committed to the grudge, none of it changes the structure of the relationship. They do not want peace. They want the position of moral advantage. That is what makes grudges so corrosive. They freeze growth. They turn a relationship into a courtroom where one person is always the prosecutor and the other person is always on trial. The Stoics would have seen the weakness in that immediately. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about the necessity of mastering your judgments rather than being mastered by them. A grudge is the opposite of mastery. It is the decision to chain yourself to a wound because identity has become entangled with resentment. But there is also a social manipulation hidden inside it. A person who never releases your past can keep you apologizing in the present. They can keep you softer than you should be. More accommodating than you should be. More guilty than you should be. More easy to steer than you should be. That is power. And many people hold grudges not because they are too wounded to move on, but because they discovered how useful your guilt is. They will demand perfection from you while excusing every flaw in themselves. They will make your mistakes part of your identity and their mistakes part of the circumstances. They will keep the ledger open forever and call it honesty. It is not honesty. It is emotional control through remembered injury. This is where many decent people get stuck. They keep thinking, maybe if I explain one more time. Maybe if I do more. Maybe if I'm patient enough, kind enough, consistent enough, they will finally let it go. But some people do not know who they are without the grudge. Without it, they would have to meet you again as a real person instead of a permanent disappointment. Without it, they would have to release the moral superiority that resentment gives them. Without it, they would have to heal, and healing is harder than blaming. Epictetus taught that what disturbs us is not events themselves but the judgments we attach to them. A person who feeds a grudge year after year is choosing a judgment over a future. They are choosing bitterness over renewal. That is their right. But it does not have to become your prison too. If every disagreement gets dragged back through an archive of old offenses. If no apology is ever enough. If every attempt to reconnect gets converted into another opportunity for them to remind you of who you once were. Then ask yourself a difficult question. Am I in a relationship, or am I serving a sentence? Because those are not the same thing. Healthy relationships leave room for growth. They leave room for context. They leave room for imperfection. They leave room for repair. But when someone treats your worst moments like a weapon they are entitled to keep using forever, you stop being loved as a whole person. You become trapped inside their most convenient version of you. And no, you do not owe lifelong access to anyone who insists on relating to you through a wound they refuse to heal. Some distances are not revenge. They are release. Sometimes you walk away not because you hate the person, but because you finally understand that their memory of your mistakes is more important to them than the reality of who you are now. 6. They're envious of your success. Jealousy does not always arrive looking ugly. Sometimes it arrives smiling. Sometimes it comes as a joke. A passive-aggressive comment. A sudden coolness. A compliment with a knife hidden inside it. Sometimes it looks like indifference at the exact moment someone who loves you should be lighting up. That is why envy is so easy to miss at first. I remember sharing good news with someone I thought was genuinely close to me. It was something I had worked for quietly, for a long time. I had sacrificed for it. I had stayed disciplined when nobody was watching. I had taken hits, doubted myself, kept going, and finally something opened. I expected warmth. Instead, I got, "Must be nice." Not, "I'm proud of you." Not, "You earned that." Not even simple enthusiasm. Just that cold little phrase people use when they want to make your achievement feel accidental, undeserved, or suspiciously easy. I tried to ignore it at first. But then I noticed the pattern. Every time something went well for me, the energy changed. They got quieter, sharper, more dismissive. They either minimized the achievement, redirected attention, or found a subtle way to drain joy out of the moment. That is envy. And envy is poisonous in close relationships because it attacks the very thing closeness is supposed to protect: safety. You should not have to make yourself smaller to keep the peace with people who claim to love you. You should not have to mute your victories so other people can remain comfortable. You should not have to apologize for becoming stronger, healthier, wealthier, wiser, more disciplined, or more fulfilled. Yet this happens every day. People say they want you to win, but only within the emotional boundaries that keep them from feeling left behind. Marcus Aurelius wrote about rejoicing with those who rejoice, and that simple idea exposes more truth than most people realize. Real love expands when you rise. Real care does not secretly resent your progress. Someone who is truly in your corner experiences your momentum as something beautiful, not threatening. But envy changes the atmosphere around everything. Your progress becomes a trigger. Your discipline becomes an accusation. Your happiness becomes a reminder. Your success becomes evidence they do not want to face. And here is the darker truth: envy often leads to sabotage. Not always dramatic sabotage. Sometimes it is subtle. They plant doubt. They spread little rumors. They challenge your confidence at strategic moments. They minimize your work in front of others. They joke about your ambition so people take you less seriously. They make your success emotionally expensive to enjoy. That is how envy operates in adult relationships. It rarely says, "I wish you would fail." It simply creates conditions where your rise becomes lonelier, heavier, or harder to sustain. And no matter how kind you are, no matter how humble you try to be, you cannot heal someone's scarcity mindset for them. Seneca said it is not the person who has too little who is poor, but the one who craves more. Envy is a form of poverty. Not material poverty, spiritual poverty. A person trapped in envy cannot celebrate abundance because they experience another person's success as a theft from their own possibility. That is tragic for them. But it is not your burden to carry. Many people waste years trying to make envious people comfortable. They downplay themselves. They hide wins. They avoid speaking too confidently. They shrink their joy into something more socially acceptable. But shrinking never cures envy. It only teaches the other person that your light is negotiable. No. You are allowed to be proud of what you built. You are allowed to enjoy what you earned. You are allowed to evolve beyond the version of yourself that made other people feel secure. And yes, sometimes it is a family member. Sometimes it is a sibling, a cousin, a partner, a friend from years ago, someone who knew you when you were less and became strangely uncomfortable when you became more. That happens. Not everyone likes who you become when you stop needing their approval. So when you notice tension every time you grow, pay attention. When someone consistently responds to your progress with coldness, sarcasm, dismissal, or weird emotional distance, do not romanticize it. Do not call it personality. Do not keep handing your joy to someone who keeps returning it bruised. Confront it if it feels right. Sometimes honesty opens a door. But if they deny, deflect, or try to make you feel guilty for succeeding, then the message is already clear. You cannot build a thriving life in the emotional presence of someone who is silently rooting against your expansion. Their envy is their lesson. Your responsibility is your peace. 7. They encourage bad habits. This one is more dangerous than people think because it often hides behind fun, loyalty, and familiarity. Not every person who keeps you stuck does it through criticism. Some do it through invitation. Come on, one more drink. Skip the workout. Why are you taking life so seriously? Live a little. You've changed. You think you're better than everyone now. At first, it does not look like sabotage. It looks like company. It looks like comfort. It looks like someone wanting you to relax. But over time, you notice something. Every time you try to move forward, they pull you back toward whatever version of you was easier for them to be around. I had someone in my life who always wanted the same things from me: one more late night, one more distraction, one more bad decision, one more delay, one more compromise with my own standards. And when I tried to become more disciplined, with my time, my health, my focus, my direction, the resistance started. They mocked the structure. They framed discipline as arrogance. They treated boundaries like rejection. They acted like self-respect was a betrayal of the bond. That is when I realized this was not just about fun. It was about alignment. They were most comfortable with me when I was not moving too far beyond the level they had accepted for themselves. And that is common. Some people need you to remain indulgent because your discipline threatens their excuses. Some need you to stay reckless because your restraint exposes their lack of control. Some need you tired, distracted, impulsive, emotionally messy, and slightly off-center, because that version of you is easier to manage than the one who is clear. This is where the social mask becomes especially obvious. Society loves self-destruction when it is packaged as personality. It celebrates excess until excess has consequences. It mocks restraint until restraint produces results. Then suddenly everyone acts surprised by your transformation. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That matters here. Because bad habits are rarely only about the habit. They are about identity. About trajectory. About what kind of life your daily choices are building. And if someone repeatedly encourages the version of you that is weakest, most distracted, most impulsive, least disciplined, then no matter how much history you have with them, they are not aligned with your future. That sounds severe. But look at the results. Do you become stronger around them? More focused? More honest? More grounded? More disciplined? More like the person you are trying to become? Or do you become easier to derail? That question cuts through a lot of sentiment. Epictetus taught that the people around us either elevate our soul or pull us further into confusion. There is no neutral company over long periods of time. Influence accumulates. Energy transfers. Habits spread. Standards blur. And the older you get, the more expensive this becomes. When you are younger, a bad environment costs you time. Later, it costs you health. It costs you credibility. It costs you relationships. It costs you years you cannot recover. That is why this last sign matters so much. Because sometimes the people destroying your future are not insulting you, envying you, or openly using you. They are simply normalizing the behaviors that keep you from becoming who you need to become. And because it does not look dramatic, you tolerate it longer. You call it history. You call it chemistry. You call it, that's just how we are. But if someone consistently invites you away from your standards, away from your growth, away from your peace, then they are not just in your life. They are in your path. And at some point, you have to choose. You cannot build a disciplined life with people who feel threatened by discipline. You cannot protect your future while staying deeply entangled with those who benefit from your self-neglect. You cannot rise while remaining loyal to every environment that taught you how to shrink. That does not mean judging people. It means noticing patterns. It means respecting consequences. It means no longer sacrificing the person you are becoming to preserve the comfort of people committed to staying the same. Growth changes relationships. It is supposed to. And anyone who truly cares about you will not punish you for becoming harder to destroy. So let's bring this together. Sometimes the people you need distance from are not the loud villains in your story. They are the familiar ones. The ones whose behavior is easy to rationalize because it comes wrapped in history, affection, obligation, or blood. If they constantly undermine you, if they mock your goals, if they keep you emotionally unstable through inconsistency, if they only reach for you when they need something, if they keep old mistakes alive as a form of control, if your success triggers envy instead of love, or if they keep inviting you back into the habits that destroy your future, then the issue is no longer one bad moment. It is the pattern. And patterns tell the truth emotions often try to hide. The Stoics were not teaching emotional numbness. They were teaching discernment. They were teaching the strength to see clearly, the courage to act accordingly, and the self-command not to confuse attachment with wisdom. Not every relationship should be saved. Not every bond should be preserved at any cost. And not every person deserves unlimited access to your mind, your time, your heart, or your future. That is not bitterness. That is maturity. Because peace is not built only by what you add to your life. It is also built by what you stop allowing into it. Some doors close with anger. Some close with grief. And some close with a quiet understanding that you can love people and still refuse to let them keep harming you. If this hits something real in you, do not rush past that feeling. Ask yourself, who in my life leaves me feeling smaller, heavier, more confused, more guilty, more off track than I was before I saw them? And just as important, what have I been calling loyalty that is actually just fear of letting go? Leave that in the comments if you want to share. I'd really like to hear which part spoke to you most. And if this video gave language to something you've been feeling for a long time, subscribe and stay with me. Because this channel is for people who are done confusing peace with passivity, and done mistaking emotional damage for love. Stay steady. Stay clear. And protect your mind like your life depends on it. Because more often than people admit, it does.